Minimalist shoes are awesome for some of you at some times. If you do it wrong, you can wreck your feet. If you go too fast, you're going to have Achilles issues, you're going to have plantar fasciitis, etc. So let's go over the plan of action on how to get your feet ready, your ankles ready, your Achilles ready, and plantar fasciitis not having an issue. Can't even say plantar fascia. This is the protocol that I use for, I wouldn't even say myself, because I've been wearing Minimalist Oregon barefoot for such a long time that it's just not a big deal for me. But for a lot of people, you're going to need this transition. So we're going to start off with the readiness checklist. Before you get into switching, first thing you need to make sure is you don't have any current Achilles or plantar fasciitis issues as is. You can do some of this stuff and probably most of it, but just make sure you're checking on that. Talk to your doc, talk to your physical therapist, making sure you're getting that dialed in first before you jump into some shoes. So if we talk about I don't have my foot right in front of me, but if you think about the way the heel is dropping, every step, if you have a cushion, it raises your heel up just a little bit every step, right? So as you go into minimalist shoe, you're starting to get more flat. So even in a pair of Ultra that has a higher stack height, you're still a little bit higher off the ground, but your heel has lowered, in which case then this Achilles is starting to get stretched. And that's where a lot of issues come from, and that Achilles wraps underneath the foot, and that's where you get plantar fasciitis. All right, if you've had any history of barefoot training or foot strength, probably not gonna have any issues. You should be able to do calf raises and some single legs balance work without any pain. Running and rucking should be mostly pain-free, but I will tell you in your current footwear, what I will tell you is that I have had a torn ACL and I have built myself back up from scratch. Painful. I shouldn't say it was painful, but I found a way to make it not painful to be able to run afterwards. All right. So biomechanics. How you run your technique is probably more important than your shoes. Focus on where your foot lands, etc. There's lots of videos on proper running technique, etc. What minimalist shoes do help with is they do help you to almost force a better position, and not always, but most of the time, you're going to tend to land more as your foot and your body was designed to. I recommend grass like this. Go to a park and just start running in grass barefoot. That's one way to find out where your running mechanics are at. I'm not going to get into much more of mechanics. All right, so there's a 3-phase transition plan. Phase 1, this is your first 4 to 6 weeks. We're going to do some barefoot drills. So spreading your toes out, gripping the toes into a towel or something on the floor, just kind of like that dragging action. You can do farmer's carries barefoot or in your minimalist shoes if you choose. Calf raises and isometrics. So I highly recommend the Spring Ankle Series by Cal Dietz. I've got a short video on it. It's basically 5 positions. You hold them for 20 to 60 seconds. Eventually you add load and they will completely strengthen your feet, your ankles, your whole lower leg, and you will have so much less issues. That is one of the ways that I got back into running without pain with a torn ACL. Next piece, we're looking at low-level plyos like pogo jumps, some low skips, some landing drills where you're just basically dropping into a landing position. Now you can start to look at your minimalist shoes and walking around for 5 to 10 minutes a day. If you're running and rucking at this point, I recommend mostly staying with your current shoes. Again, if we start stretching that Achilles, you're going to start to get a lot of inflammation, both in the Achilles and the underneath the foot with that plantar fasciitis. All right, phase 2, 6 to 12 weeks. Now you can start your short jogs and minimalist shoes. Again, I recommend just start off on grass. That's literally how I rebuilt my running from the ground up with a torn ACL. As I just started running on nothing but grass, snow, soft things. I don't think I used anything super crazy. I think my shoes were I think they were Ultras, if I remember right. So do that 5 to 10 minutes, twice a week. So now you can start jogging and working that stuff in. You can start to warm up in your minimalist shoes before training. I find a lot of my dudes, they don't have a problem training in the minimalist shoes so much as if you start doing jumps right away. So that's one thing to watch out for, is if you start doing jumps, particularly on hard surfaces. So some gyms just have concrete. Like my old work gym was just concrete, and that was very rough on all my joints. So just something to be aware of is the actual surface you're on when you do some of these exercises. At this point, you're going to start rotating between your minimalist and your current shoes just throughout the day. Start walking in them more often. Walk around the house barefoot as often. I get it, like a lot of houses, you got to wear footwear inside. Just try to make it as minimalist as possible. But now you're going to start doing more ankle drills at a higher level. You're going to be jumping a little bit higher. Your pogo jumps are going to be coming a little bit higher up on your jumps. Your skips are going to be getting a little bit higher. Landing, now you can start working on some jumps if you don't have any fatigue in the Achilles and the bottom of the foot. All right, phase 3, 12 weeks plus. So now you can start doing your minimalist shoes for short runs, sprints. Again, be careful with that Achilles. It will get angry at you. I find most Achilles issues tend to be when I run uphill. When I run uphill, mine are just fired up for a couple days, unless I'm doing the spring ankle drills consistently, and then I usually don't have any issues. At this point, 12 weeks plus, you can start doing agility work. You can start using your current shoes still for longer rucks and heavier loads. So one thing to think about is that a minimalist shoe is not great for heavy loads. So as a general rule, I think you really have to play that out. I've been barefoot for such a long time, it's just not a big deal. I walk across the gravel at the range and I can feel every rock and it just doesn't bother me. A lot of you, it will. So you're just gonna have to play that by ear when you're ready for it. Still work the foot drills as long as you can, the warm-ups and everything. Still, you can start doing that keep doing that in your minimalist shoes. You can start bringing up the pogo jumps into a high jump instead of a medium. You can start working on bounding, start doing skips that are a little bit more dynamic. You can start to transition from soft grass to a gym surface. I think the first transition I personally would recommend is a basketball court. It tends to be fairly decent at absorbing and they're not super hard. That's where I've done a lot of my sprinter, and especially as you get in the winter, like you're gonna have to go somewhere indoors. So try to find a basketball court if you can. A lot of gyms have them. Things to watch out for. Here's your red flags. Hit the pause button if you notice any Achilles or plantar fasciitis pain for more than 48 hours. You're gonna have a little bit of soreness. You're stretching that more than it has been, but just beware of the difference between discomfort and pain. And if it's over 48 hours, you're gonna probably wanna go see your doc. Granted, they're probably not gonna do much for you, but rest it, massage gun it, do what you can, go to see a massage therapist, try and get that stuff cleaned up as best you can. You can use the tennis ball underneath your foot. Try and think of some of the other drills. Most of the stuff I've done is pretty simple. Like you could do scraping with one of those little tools, gonna work sometimes. If you can't complete a normal run or ruck without pain, that's gonna be an indication we need to step back a little bit. If you have a sudden drop in performance after the shoe switch, I will tell you that if you run your PT test, whatever your service test is, 2 miles, 1.5 miles, 1 mile, whatever it is, if you run a minimalist shoes, you probably will be slower. That's just the reality of it. So typically I have a shoe that I have for all the other exercises during the test, and then I switch to, and typically that's like a minimalist shoe. And then for the run, I actually switch to an ultra that's a little bit higher stack height. For most of you, like ultras probably considered minimalist, but it's really more a flat foot, large toe box than it is a minimalist shoe. So if you're having any of those issues, but just gonna back up and rebuild the tissue tolerance. All right, the end state, you should have stronger, more resilient feet, especially if you've been doing the spring ankle drill. You will have amazingly strong feet that can handle a lot. Cal's whole thing with the spring ankle drill is that if your feet cannot handle whatever you are doing, whether it's sprinting, deadlifting, squatting, change of direction, etc., it will neurologically put the brakes on the rest of the body. If your feet are not strong, you are not going to be able to perform at the level that you could. If you strengthen your feet, you're going to take away those brakes and pull those things off. It's going to make you much better. You should have more durable tendons that can handle real world load, doing a change of direction. Okay, so maybe you're not playing sports, cool. You go run after a suspect. If you're doing a assault on an objective and you've got to change direction, it's no different than if you're playing a game. All right, you should have nice, clean, efficient mechanics. Fewer overuse issues. You should see a lot of lack of that irritation on the back of the heel and underneath the foot. Your capability to run, ruck, and sprint. Minimalist footwear without breakdown should occur after roughly 12 weeks. Everybody's individual. I've seen some people have taken a couple weeks, especially have the, say, a martial arts background, a stand-up martial arts background, striking, and other people take years. So it's very individual. You just got to figure out what it is. If you want the Google Doc that kind of runs all this stuff through and you can actually check off each little section, just leave a comment below, feet, and I will drop you the link.